Okay guys, so first what I like to do is to go ahead and bleach the knots on my lace, and these knots are already bleached, and I also added some color to the hair already. And now I am going to go ahead and tint the lace, because if you can see, this lace does not match my skin tone. So what I like to use is to use the fabric dye, and I like to use the red fabric dye. That's this one. My perfect shade for tinting my lace is the dark brown. So I'm going to use some of this dark brown, some warm water, and my mixing bowl. So what I like to do is just pour some water in my mixing bowl. Okay, so I pour some of the dark brown dye in here and just stir it. Okay, so now that I went ahead and mixed it, I am going to go and put my lace in it. So this mixture will turn your lace the color that you want, but it can also go ahead and darken your bleached knots. So just bear that in mind, that if your knots are darker, it's only because of the tints that you put on it. So I just go ahead and soak this in here for a few minutes, and I will come right back. Okay guys, so now that everything is set, I am going to take my cap and place it on my wig block, which is the size of my head. These are hair that I have left over, and I just decided to put everything together and make one unit. So I am going to go ahead and pin my frontal to the cap. Okay you guys, so my frontal is pinned. I am going to go ahead and pin around the back of it. Okay, so I always like to push it forward, and then I pick it back up and just walk it up. Okay loves, so this is what it looks like around the back. And I'm just going to start sewing. Okay love, so I am at the end of stitching right now, and every time before I get right to the very edge, I like to loop my thread twice or 3 times around my needle. That way I already started ending it before I get to the end. This way you know that your stitches will stay and they will hold through thick and thin, and they're not going to unravel. So I'm just looping around a few times, and then I'll pull through. Now if you get to the end and you feel like your needle is bugging you and you can't really stitch, just take it out so that you can stitch down the end of your frontal really nice and tight. Okay, so I just finished stitching the end. I'm just going to go back towards the back and do like 2 or 3 more loops before I cut my thread. This is what the frontal looks like stitched down. Okay guys, so I'm going to go ahead and start stitching my tracks on here. And this is about 1 bundle of hair. So I'm going to use about 1.5 bundles altogether. To start stitching, I usually like to start my stitches from the edge of my last stitch, from where I stitched down my frontal. and loop it all the way around to the side. So with my frontals, I like to sew it as a smile stitch, or I like to lay my tracks down in like a smiling pattern, and then I just follow that pattern all the way till I get to the top. Stitch. And usually when I go through my first stitch, I like to put my needle through the middle of my two threads. So these are the two threads. I know you can't see it, and I just pull the needle through it, and that helps make a really secure first stitch, and you pull it really tight. And then when I go back in, I like to go ahead and do a double or a triple loop around the needle and pull it. And then my next 2 or 3 stitches are going to be loops around the needle so that it can secure the beginning of my track. And when I do that, it actually stays and it lasts a really long time, because okay guys, so right now I am at the crown of this wig, so I hope you can see. Okay, so this is where that lace is from the back of the frontal, and this is where I got to. I just kept flipping it, and I used my 1 bundle already, and this is the like a little 1/4 inch bundle of hair that I had left over. So I am going to show you guys how I'm closing this particular wig, because I sewed sideways and I stopped on the side of my curved weft. I didn't come all the way up to curve it. So I'm just gonna go side to side now. So I'm just gonna flip this over. So I pinned it to the end of the weft I have over here. So when I get here, I'm not gonna sew all the way up. I'm just gonna sew like halfway, and then I'm gonna flip it back over. Stitch it in place, and then I'm going to do a second stitch, which is going to be a double knot stitch, right? And that is where I stop. See the distance between here and here? I'm stopping right there. And I'm going to flip that track over. So at this point, we're at our last weft. And I just go ahead and flip this over like so. And this lays right at the edge of that lace, if you can see. Right? So then I pin it. I'm not gonna cut it just yet. Make sure your track is pulled but not too tight. Just make sure that's just laying down flat and not loose but not tight. Loose but not tight. I mean flat but not tight. Now that I'm nearing the end of this track, I am going to go ahead and cut it, and I'm going to position it exactly where it should stop. And that's in the corner over here, and I'm going to cut right a little bit ahead of that, just in case I pull something too tight somewhere and it doesn't just fall short and leave a gap over there. Okay, so a little bit before I get to the end, I'm going to start doing my knot stitches. That way I'm already closing this wig with some really secure knots before I get to like the very end of it. That way it doesn't pull whenever you're combing it and doesn't unravel and just have wefts sticking out and stuff. You don't want your wefts to be sticking out. And if you're a wig maker, you don't want your clients' wefts to be sticking out because that's not a good look. This is how I close it. It's all nice and beautifully seamless, as you can see. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so this is the wig. This is the back of the wig and this is the front of it. Now you can't really see where the lace and the frontal meet, but that line is actually right. Now even I can find it. Hell, you can't see it. You would not be able to find where the lace meets the weft except at the top. So everything is nice and seamless. Everything is absolutely seamless. The only place where you see weft is the top of it. You cannot see anything, okay? Okay guys, so this is the back of the wig and I have to cut some of the length on top so that it can match my coarser hair on the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is take my scissors and I am going to just go ahead and